And we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome
Hello.
to the Hero of Ages live show. So today we're going to be talking about the Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, which is the last book in Mistborn Era 1. And if you've missed it, we are part of the Cosmere Unbounded crew, so we are reading all of Brandon Sanderson's books over the next 2 years. And yeah, so today we're talking about...
That's how many there are. It's going to take 2 years.
So yeah, thank you so much, girls, for being here. You just take turns introducing yourselves, and then we jump right into not Mistborn, no, the Hero of Ages. So we'll talk non-spoilers, then spoilers, and then we'll talk about the Mistborn series in general. So Sophia, you can start.
Hello, I'm Sophia from the channel Sophia's Thoughts. I've read everything in the Cosmere apart from White Sand Volume 3, most of it multiple times. And yeah, that's me.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. My channel is Stephanie's Bookverse, and I have actually not read everything in the Cosmere. I'm a little embarrassed, but this is my second time reading the Mistborn trilogy, but I have read all of White Sands, so I guess I can count that.
Together we complete each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Abby from the channel Abby Salter, currently in sunny London, so hello Steve in sunny Yorkshire. And I have reread Mistborn, the whole thing once. Well, I've read it twice now, so it's had 2 reads. And I, like Stephanie, have not read all of the Cosmere. I am not in the expert levels of Sophia yet. But I have read Elantris and
Crazy levels.
And I'm working my way very, very slowly through Stormlight.
Fair.
Yeah,
I haven't
I haven't read Elantris or whatever. Not read. There's a few I haven't read. So I haven't read Era 2, which we're reading starting in July. So next month, yeah, we're starting next month with Era 2. So that's going to be fun as well. So I'm going to put up the non-spoiler banner so that we know that we're talking non-spoilers about the Hero of Ages. So what did you guys think? So it's everyone's at least second time reading the Hero of Ages. So what did you guys think of this last book in the Mistborn series?
I loved it.
This is the first time I cried reading it.
Oh.
It's my at least third, maybe fourth time. I think third time reading it, but maybe fourth. But it's the first time I've cried.
Yeah. The ending hit me just the same as the first time. Just sit there and stare. Sorry, go for it.
I didn't cry.
I usually don't.
3-hour walk to finish it.
Oh
Right.
yeah, I mean, I was doing a lot of walking whilst reading these books. I mean, they were excellent companions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is true. This is true.
I mean, I probably would have struggled if I was listening to them for the first time, but because it's a reread, I was fine listening to them.
I agree with you.
My brain.
Well, I always recommend not listening to this one the first time because there are spoilers in the audio. So if you haven't read it before, if you're just sticking around for the non-spoiler section, do yourself a favor and don't listen to the audio the first time you read this one.
Yes, but in defense of people who do listen to the audiobook, I didn't pick up on it first time through, and my husband didn't pick up on it first time through.
That's
But second time through, I'm like, that is so obvious. How did I not pick up on that?
Maybe it depends how in tune you are with the voices.
And I was too. I just it didn't connect for some reason. I totally, I got it. I knew, but it didn't click. Once we get to spoilers, I can explain why. But yeah, it didn't connect in my head.
There's just so much going on.
Yeah, and I think you would just assume that he's doing another voice, but he ran out of voices to do, so he just did a voice that's similar to this.
Ran out of voices.
Yeah.
My catalog is done. So
it is funny when you hear Michael Kramer narrating other things, and you're like, "What's Kaladin doing here?"
It's weird. Yes,
it's so strange.
It's so
but
weird.
I did realize I just thought that he did all of Sanderson's audiobooks. I didn't realize Atlantis and Warbreaker were done by other people because I've just downloaded those off Audible, and I was like, this is a different narrator.
Yeah. I don't like that he got. I mean, I shouldn't judge. Like, I'm sure they're great narrators. Like, that's rude, but it just sounds weird to have someone besides them do Sanderson's books.
Yeah.
I think he probably couldn't afford Michael Kramer in his early days.
Oh yeah.
I bet that Michael Kramer and Kate Redding are expensive.
Well, I downloaded them this week to listen to them at some point, and so I will report back on how they are. I listened to the sample and they seemed okay, but
Nice.
Yeah, they're good.
All right, so the Hero of Ages. I think in the non-spoiler section, something I wanted to ask you guys is, what did you think of the pacing of this one? For the non-spoiler section.
So fast. But I like that. I love fast-paced books, so it really works for me.
Yeah. I think it was perfect for a third book. I think sometimes when you have first books that are too fast-paced, it can be a little difficult because you're just still trying to get into the world and learn about it. But by the time you're in the third book, you know it, you know the characters and stuff, and it can be really fast-paced, and it's perfect that way. So yeah, I think it was great because it was a third book.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel as though it was faster paced than like the Final Empire. I feel as though he maintained pace relatively throughout the series. At least for me, it didn't seem like any faster than the rest of the books.
I think it did to me, but maybe it's partly because you have more people you're following as well. So you have to get through things more quickly with them, because in the first one you're very
just
limited
one storyline
on your POVs. Like you get some of two, but like mostly it's just one. So
and I feel like Well of Ascension is, so many people say that the beginning is so slow. That's why I was wondering if you guys had thought that this one was different from Well of Ascension.
I don't think Well of Ascension's that slow at the beginning.
No, me neither. Some people do think so.
Yeah, I think generally people find Well of Ascension slow. I've never found that, but I think that that's because all of the stuff that is happening is stuff that I'm interested in anyway, whereas some people just aren't about the politics and all that kind of stuff. So maybe it seems slower.
Right.
I guess I did like having the multiple PO points of view that we get in this. Like, I really, really liked Tenzoon's.
Yes.
And so the thing is, because I really, really liked his point of view, I was like, when's the next one? To get to the next one. Like, even I was enjoying all of the points of view, but his in particular, I was like, need to get there.
What do you guys think of Spook's point of view?
Okay, he is irritating in this.
Yes, thank you.
The first time I read it, I was like, why is this here? I really don't care about Spook. I'm sorry.
It was interesting, and it's kind of like a lot of, you get good information from that. Yeah. But Spook is just like, it's hard to read from his point of view. He seems just very whiny and very, woe is me. I only have this one ability. Oh, poor me. And I'm like, just stop. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I liked Spook when he wasn't a POV, but when I liked him as the side character. And it's not like
the teenage thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not like I disliked him. I didn't dislike where his story was going, but I just preferred the other perspectives.
Yeah, me too. It's like what you said. I don't think I didn't have any particular feelings towards him when he wasn't a POV character. But once we got his POV character, I thought, oh, okay. And then, and I feel like, especially when you reread, we'll talk about this in the spoiler section, but you're like, come on, it's so obvious what's happening to you. Why don't you just do certain things? You know? Yeah. But of course.
It's more difficult to sympathize with them the more you read them, because you're just like, you want to slap them as much as you want to slap past you for just not getting it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Did you guys still want to say something about maybe how would you think of it as a conclusion to a series for non-spoiler people who haven't read it yet, and how it concludes the Mistborn series in general?
I think it's perfect.
I think it's one of the best conclusions to a trilogy.
I hate it, but I love it.
Yeah, it's. I love it. I mean, it's bittersweet. And like you're hurting, but you're happy, but you're like, it's very satisfying.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
and
And
I
I
think
feel
it
like it's
wraps
not
up.
too perfect. Yeah.
It
Like,
wraps
it
up
does that.
the series. I was very satisfied with it, very happy with the direction that it went in. And yeah.
I agree with
And
you.
as well, having read some of the other Cosmere books now, like Way of Kings, it's really interesting to see how things, you can sort of see links. We can sort of think about the Cosmere as a whole in relation to this trilogy.
Yeah, for sure. There are a lot of things where if you have read more of the Cosmere, you think, oh, okay, it's in here, and you have little hints, and I really like that. But yeah, I think that as a series finale, it's very bittersweet. Is I think the best way of saying it, because yeah, it's good, but it's also sad, and it's just you just stand there like, there's some things that are we will talk about in the spoiler section, but that are heartbreaking to me at least. And then yeah, so you're happy it ends the way it does, but also sad.
Yeah, and I think he does a really good job of tying everything up and making everything make sense at the end. Like, I've got a friend who's just read The Final Empire, and she was saying to me, like, am I going to get answers to all of this? I'm like, you're going to have to wait 2 more books, but yes, you will get answers to everything, which actually makes me really excited for Stormlight 5, because I'm like, if this is how explosive Hero of Ages was, I'm not ready for whatever Stormlight 5 is going to be called. Like,
yeah, if he finishes all his series the way he finished this, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So
this is the only series ending we've had from him so far.
yeah, it is.
I mean, he has done. It's the one I've not read. Steelheart.
Yes, I meant within the Cosmere. Yeah.
Actually, White Sam's done. It's only 3, right?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure.
Barely done. I mean,
but that's very different kind of storytelling, isn't it?
Yeah. I want him to change that into regular novels.
He could probably write it time. No. I think that's why he ended up doing graphic for it, because he felt like he didn't have the time to dedicate to writing it the way he wanted to. But yeah, we'll have the end of Era 2 first.
Yeah.
So.
He's working on that now, isn't he?
Yeah. He's actually a decent chunk into it.
Yeah. I think he's like half done already.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Just write like
a
book in 2 months.
48%. Yeah.
40%.
This one's going to be longer. This one's going to be more like the length of the Final Empire.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Nice.
We're going to have to throw it into our read-along somewhere.
Yeah.
Once it comes out.
Yeah.
It
should be November next year, I think. That's when he usually does his releases, isn't it?
Yeah, November.
All right, so we're going to spoilers?
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's talk spoilers. Go for it.
Go for it.
All right, I'll say the thing that really made me sad, that breaks me every time I think about it, is the fact that Tensoon and Vin never got to say goodbye. That is a thing that gets to me every time. It makes me so sad. I could just cry right now. So, yeah.
Tensoon.
I feel like this time reading Tensoons, I kept thinking of Alan being like, he'll always be our sir to me. I'm like, I don't even know how you remember that name at this point.
Yeah.
I never really liked Ursa.
No, Ursa was annoying.
Tensoon. I'm hoping, I don't know if Alan's, how far he's read yet, or if he's got to this book at all in his, I don't think he has, but I'm definitely interested in seeing how he feels about Tensoon after reading this.
Mm-hmm.
And whether his feelings have changed. Because I guess at the end of Well of Ascension, you don't really know Tensoon, and it's only in this book that you really get into Tensoon as a character.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked his POV in this.
Yeah, it was one of my favorites. It was so good.
I really felt for him, like having to run from one end of the Final Empire to the other and then back, and then I'm like, oh man.
The thing is, I'd have liked to have learned more about the what's the culture that he's from?
Kundra.
the Kandra. I would have liked to have learned more about their race and like where they came from, and like how their I don't know, their hierarchy, like how that like comes about, and like all the different generations of Kandra. And
Well, maybe he could do like a short story in there. He does a lot of like novellas.
He does.
That'd be cool if he just did like a Kandra novella.
That'd be so cool.
That'd be really cool.
I think that was one of the interesting parts of this book, was to look at all that, the religion, and we'll talk probably about that when we talk about Sazed, but the religion of the Kandra, and how the first Kandra are those people that were with the Lord Ruler right in the beginning, if I'm not mistaken. And it's like insane if you think about it. These people have been there since the beginning of Metal Empire. And so it's like so
weird to me, that they would be okay with acting like he's this godlike figure when I'm like, he literally took away your lives. He turned you into these creatures. I don't know. I feel like I'd be a little bitter. Like,
yeah.
And I did like, I loved how Tenzin was like, all these people just don't expect me to get into the bones of the dog, or like, you know, how he was like, they wouldn't see themselves doing something like this, but because I've done it before, I'm going to get out and do all these, like, their perceptions of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and see the different hierarchy with the rebellions in there, where some of them were like, it reminded me a little bit of the Scythe series, where if you have those people that have been there for a very long time, they want to topple the ones that are at the very top, and then they want to just start new, but still them being the big kahunas and not the ones underneath them. And I just thought that was very interesting to see how they did that, and that whole political thing amongst the Kandra.
Yeah.
But so what did you guys think about? Well, if you still want to talk about Tenzin and the Kandra, I don't know. What you guys?
No, we can go to someone else.
All right. Does anyone have a topic? Otherwise, we can go through characters.
Spook being an idiot the whole book.
Who?
Spook.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I was just shouting at him like, "Take the metal out."
Yeah. Yeah, but he didn't. After a point, he doesn't even remember it's there. It's not until he's on the stage with what's his name, the mayor or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That he realizes that it's even still there.
But how would you not feel a piece of metal?
Well, it's Ruin's influence, isn't it? It's him making them forget. Yeah.
Get used to it.
In my head, I was like, take it out.
Yeah.
Well, mine is like, why didn't you take it out at the very beginning before the influence took you over? Like, flip. I wouldn't be like, oh, look, I have a piece of a sword stuck in me. I'll just leave it there. No big deal.
Just wait.
I mean, in his defense, sometimes they leave bullets in if they're not causing problems. So
yeah, when they're way deep, not when they're like sitting there and you can feel them.
True.
I mean, Joanna's got metal in her. She's being influenced by Ruin.
I am, but on Wednesday it ends, guys. Ruin influencing me. Oh man,
it's funny.
So I gotta ask: did you guys, when you first read this, see the whole earring thing being a hemalurgic spike thing coming? Me too.
Yeah, I did after in this book. I didn't back in the other books, but like as we got farther into this book, I did.
You started realizing as you went along. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can't quite remember much of my first read because it was like 2014, 2015. But I do remember like distinctly that the earring was something, and so yeah, I definitely was like, the earring. It's the earring. It's metal.
Mm-hmm.
It's metal. It's in her ear.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't even think about it.
I started thinking about when they were talking a lot in the second book about the Steel Inquisitors and how they have the things in their eyes. And I was like, but wait, metal piercing your body. It literally and then they were talking about that scene where Vin's mother just shoved the earring in her ear. I was like, but that's like literally the same as having it, not the same as having it through your eyes, but it's still like a piece of metal in your body. And so I started connecting the dots, and then the further it went along, the further I was like, I'm sure I'm right. And I was so happy when I was. I felt so like, good job.
No, I didn't get it until Marsh literally ripped the thing out of her ear, and then the mist came, and I was like, "What's happening?" Oh,
right, but I think it was so well done that it's easy for you not to see it coming. Like you could or you couldn't, because it's just kind of gone along.
I just I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't thinking about it, and then it happened, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." Why did I not see this? But hey, I didn't.
Yeah,
I was so wrapped up in everything else.
He is the master of twists that you should have seen coming but don't.
Oh yeah,
so good.
Yeah.
100%.
I love that.
100%.
I love Marsh, honestly. I mean, I feel like his parts that we followed him were always so short and very depressing, but it's just crazy impressive how he had more spikes and more metal than anyone ever, and yet he could still fight him. I'm like, he had to have been such a boss person before all that.
Yeah, I feel so sorry for Marsh. Like the way his life went and what he could have been.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the book starts off with Marsh struggled to kill himself. Like he's obviously not.
Yeah, I feel so bad for him. And then he keeps on being so self-deprecating and Kelsier did this and no, but look how awesome you are. You are literally not falling for the influence of a god. This is he's so awesome.
And then he gets his one opportunity to defy ruin, and he uses it to rip the earring out rather than kill himself.
And I don't
Such
know,
a hero.
Did Vin ever really realize that he did that for her? I don't think she did. Did she?
She probably didn't have the time.
Right, and that's fair. But also, it's like no one realized that he was a hero.
No.
Even through everything. So I'm like, oh, Marsh.
I know.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, it's kind of amazing in a way because he was like part of the rebellion before Kelsier ever was, and in the end, really, he's a big part of what saves the Final Empire. Because if he hadn't done that, then Preservation's power wouldn't have been grasped by Vin, and Rune would have won.
Yeah.
So it came full circle for him, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Going back to Spook, Sophia and I were talking about this when we were reading that he gets too much in the end. And I feel like with Marsh, I'm super happy he gets, it goes full circle and it ends in a, let's say, Brandon Sanderson positive way. And with Spook, I feel like it's just too much like, and you have everything. It's like Sansa, it's everything I ever wanted. And then you get it, you know? So I feel like it's like that.
Yeah, he does. He really, really does. Yep.
My neighbor's yelling at his kids. I'm sorry.
I couldn't hear it.
Oh dear.
So if we stick with Vin for a bit, what do you guys think? Because so in the end, she is not the hero of ages. But what do you think? What did you think about that? What did you think about her journey in this book, and also at the end when she does take up Preservation's powers and all that? What were your thoughts on Vin?
See, I think that she's not the hero of ages, but she is still the hero of this story. For me, like, you know, Marsh comes in and takes the earring and helps save the day, but really, it's Vin that does it all. And I just, I feel so gutted for her always. Like,
I mean, she gave so much of herself.
Yeah.
Like she is still a hero. Like as Sophia said, she is still the hero for a lot of it.
Yeah.
And if it weren't for her, they would never have started to listen to they wouldn't have heard the Well of Ascension. They wouldn't have done all those things because they were too focused on the politics instead of the world stuff. So I agree. I think she's the hero no matter what.
I feel like no one else really would have acted the way she did either. Like, I mean, maybe Kelsier, if he would have still been alive and doing this, but like, I don't think Sazed or Elend or anyone would have attacked ruin the way that she did and acted the way she did with that power. So I think that it had to be her really who took that up at that time. But Sazed had to be the one that like took it up after. Like it really needed to work perfectly in that order. And it's crazy to think that preservation set it up that way all along. Like that is some planning ahead of time. Like you need the very perfect people who had the perfect life experiences and knowledge in order for this to work the way it did. Like that's impressive. That's some skills.
Yeah.
Half dead, you know.
I think it is interesting that technically she was chosen by both of them. Like, you know, preservation chose her to take their power, and ruin chose her as their tool. So, yeah.
It's
a lot of pressure for one person.
For this poor girl.
But
she hasn't had an easy life. Poor thing.
I mean, I was rooting for her all the way through. What do you think about like Ellen's now being a Mistborn? I mean, I did like how Vin was still the superior Mistborn, and that he didn't suddenly become this like super competent Mistborn. But it's still a bit annoying. Part of me just wanted him to go back to being a normal human.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't love that part, but I think it was kind of important just for story purposes to really understand things and that. But yeah, I agree. I liked the fact that Vin was the Mistborn and Ellen was the politician and the king and that type of stuff. So
yeah, I feel like, you know, him having become a Mistborn allowed him to understand Allomancy in a better way, which was necessary, because I don't think he would have figured out the Atium thing if he hadn't been a Mistborn.
Yeah.
I did really like the percentage of the people that I didn't see that coming at all. I'd forgotten it on reread. I was like, what's going on here? So yeah, I did really like how when they figured out that the percentage of people that were not falling ill, but like with the fog and the mist, and like what that actually meant.
Yeah. When I first read it, I thought they were going to be Mistborn. I thought that percentage was going to be Mistborn, and so I was like, "They're Mistborn! Come on, give them the medals!" And then when he gave them the medals and nothing happened, I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess I was wrong." I know. But
and it's really cool because I think the number 16, if you don't know anything about the Cosmere, just be like, all right, why 16? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But if you do know about the Cosmere, you're like, 16. And you're like, huh? You know, and those are the tiny little things where you can just, if you start connecting things, and it's just like how much you care. But it's like, it's fun. I really liked that the first time I read it as well. So yeah, I agree with you that I didn't like him as an Elementor, Elend. I found him to be, okay, I was telling Sophia this already, but when I first read The Hero of Ages, I had seen a video where someone's like, oh, this is a Hero of Ages spoiler, but I didn't click out of it fast enough. And they said that Elend was the Hero of Ages. And then, so it was fake, but still. And the whole book, the first time I was reading it, I was thinking, is he just going to come in and swoop in and take Vin's place? I hate the guy. And so the whole time, I was so angry at him. And yeah, I think that stuck with me. I didn't like him in this book because I didn't like him the first time I read him in this book. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first time I read it, I remember being really annoyed that he was so strong. But then I started to realize, like, okay, he might have more raw power than Vin does, but she's just still a much better Mistborn than him. She has this skill that he will just never have, because at the point that we start Hero of Ages, he's been Mistborn for as long as she'd been by the end of the Final Empire, I think. And he's just like not a patch on her, like not like he might as well not bother, almost. Like she just swoops in and saves the day at the last second, like.
But she'd actually been Mistborn since she was born.
Well, yeah, no, but
like, obviously she wasn't
training.
But I mean, that's kind of crazy that like since she was born, she'd been snapped and been a Mistborn. That's
Yeah, and I mean that's probably why she's got such innate skill, because she's just been subconsciously doing it just forever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Vin.
Sorry, I confused myself because helicopters, and then there's this van on the road that keeps beeping.
You had those ones in London, Abby, where they go, "This vehicle is turning left." I'm like,
Oh yeah,
yes, I can see your indicator. Thank you. I don't need the voiceover. Like, what are you?
It's so funny.
and it doesn't go. It's just like yes,
But on repeat, like. If they're stuck at a traffic light, it's so annoying. I'm just like, turn off your indicator, please. I can't.
What is this? I don't think we have these vehicles in the United States.
It's like
Count yourself lucky.
It's a large lorry type thing, and when these lorries turn, they have this automatic message that goes along with the indicators going, "This vehicle is turning left.
Is
This
this like a
vehicle
semi?
is turning left." On repeat.
Oh,
Until
so
it
crazy.
Until it actually turns.
Wonderful. Oh boy.
It's amazing.
Well, no, this vehicle is just beeping. So
This vehicle is not turning left.
no, and the thing is, I'm like, I live on a cul-de-sac. Like the road doesn't go anywhere. But it's very busy. Like now, there's a fire alarm going off somewhere. Like. And there's a dog barking at it. Can you hear it all?
I heard the dog.
Now we need
That's funny.
the robot back. And then it's
Oh yeah.
I'm sure there will be another helicopter going overhead because I don't know what's going on, but the helicopters are out.
in force.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh man.
Okay.
So, Sophie, I think this is your time where you can tell us why you need to do so much for everyone else, because you've explained it to us. But
Let me just repeat. I don't hate Sazed. He is just
Yes, you
my
do.
least favourite character. And I think the thing is, right, that I get the grief, I get the crisis of faith. It's the whole spending all of his time, well, not all of his time, but most of his time in this book, reading back all of these religions and trying to either prove or disprove them. And I'm just sat here like, dude, there is more important shit going on right now. Can we like, you know, I get it, but priorities? The world is literally dying. Can we focus here? Like, I can't get past it. Plus, it should have been Vin. I know it. I just can't get past the whole it was Sazed, not Vin. Like, it still makes me mad. So, that's why.
When you said that, my husband's sitting over here, and when you're like, I don't hate Sazed, he's just my least favorite character. My husband's like, oh, indignant, just like, how could you?
Well, that's how I feel.
yeah, no. The first time she told me that was also my reaction. I was like, how dare you?
I like that it was Sazed because I think it makes sense that
It does.
he needed the information. Like, Vin didn't know anything. She would have been like the Lord Ruler and just like flinging things like she did, right? When she got the power.
Yeah.
So I really like that, the fact that the information needs to be there. Like, you need to have the knowledge. You can't just jump in there. That was really cool. And I loved Sazed, so I thought it was great.
So when I was rereading this series, I was like, well, I remember how it ends. I remember how the series ends. Even though I'd forgotten like loads of everything else, I was like, well, I remember how the book ends, the series ends. And so in my head, I was like, well, Vin and Ellen are going to die. They die at the end. Vin and Ellen die. They die. And then they died. And I was like, wait, Sazed is the hero of ages? What? Sazed is the hero of ages? And I've just completely like wiped that from my memory. And I just had this Vin and Ellen die. That's what I had in my brain. But the Sazed bit was just very new to me.
So who did you think was the hero of ages?
I don't even know. I don't know. I feel like maybe in my head I was like, oh, Vin and Ellen have died, and they've like gone off into the ether or whatever, and they've become the hero of ages up in the sky together.
Up in the
cute. I love that. I love that you also didn't you also think that book 1 and book 2 ended like were one book, the ending?
Yeah, I'd combined the ending of book 1 and book 2 into one. So I was very surprised when book 1 ended, and I was like, but they were meant to go down to the well. I was like, where is the well? Why is the well not here? They're meant to go find the well.
Why is the well gone?
It's in Well of Ascension. Ooh. Who would have thought?
And I'd also thought that Kelsey's death was like midway through book 1, and so I was waiting for it the whole time. I was like, when is Kelsey going to die? Why is he not dead yet?
Come on!
Because I thought it happened like midway through. Apparently, it doesn't happen till right near the end.
Yeah, I also think
I realised that I obviously do not retain information after 6 years.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think that when I read it last year for the 3rd time, I thought when they go the first time to see the executions that's where he died, and I was like, it's now, and then I was like, oh wait, no, it's not, it's later. So yeah, I agree with you. I also thought it was earlier.
Yeah, so it was definitely a fun experience rereading it and realising that my memory was very faulty, which then makes me curious as to what else I've forgotten in books.
Yeah, when you think
Where
about
else
it.
my memory failed me. I guess it happens when you read as much as we do.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know who I was talking with. Oh, it was, I just read Muse of Nightmares, and then I had Buddy read the first one with a friend, and I told her, are you ready to read the second one? She's like, yeah, and I haven't read anything since we read Stranger Dreamer like almost 2 years ago, so I remember exactly what had happened since it's the last book I read. And I was like, okay, I've read like 150
Wait. I thought you meant in that series. I was confused. I was like, it's a duology.
No, so I mean in general. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's I couldn't live like
I love
that.
the difference between you guys as my friends, and then last time I went to some friends from work, and we're friends in private, and so we did a double date, and then they were like, oh, so what did you do in your vacation? I was like, oh, I read 12 books, and they're like, you know, and then you guys are like, what do you mean you haven't read a book in 2 years? And I explained the concept of reading sprints to them. They're like, that's just weird. So you just sit there and you read together and no one talks. I'm like, what? But yeah, we're reading. Then why do you do that? Why do you do that online and together? It's so antisocial. I'm like, not at all.
Seems
It's
normal
the
to
social
us.
way to read.
Yeah.
I actually met up with a friend last weekend who is a reader, and she was like, I'm really hoping to get to 50 books this year. I was like, oh my God, a real life friend that wants to get to 50 books.
I need one of those.
I need one
I
of
haven't
those.
seen her in ages. I was like, and she was like, do you have any book recommendations? And I was like, do I have book
So many.
Oh, I was at work, and this person I was working with said that her daughter was really getting into reading, and she's reading like Throne of Glass and like Shadow and Bone and stuff. I'm like, okay, like I can
Let's
help
talk.
you out with this.
1 second, please.
My cousin messaged me a while ago asking for book recommendations for her son, and I was like, oh, Brandon Sanderson. So I this was for Christmas, so I was like, Brandon Sanderson, start with like Mistborn or Warbreaker. And then I got a message like in January saying he's read them all, he's addicted, and he's bought all the rest of the books by Brandon Sanderson. And I was like, yes.
Yes.
That's the
I mean,
best.
it's easily done.
No, I recommended them to my sister's boyfriend, and he started reading Mistborn and didn't like it and DNF'd it. I'm like,
Well, Elle
Whoa.
DNF'd it 3 times before she read it.
who?
Elle.
Elliot Brooks.
She didn't like it.
But
And then
it's
she
so
loved it.
good.
Yeah, she DNF'd it. I think 2 or 3 times she DNF'd it before she eventually read it, and that's like her favourite series ever.
And it's funny to think about that she DNF'd it, and that so much of her channel is Sanderson stuff.
Yeah.
That's true. I made Melvin started like last year, and he only read the prologue, but he's really not that much of a reader, so I wasn't really surprised that he didn't really go on with it. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, how big is this book?" Because he reads on Kindle. I was like, "Don't bother about that. Just read, because if you see the size of it, then you get discouraged." And so the other day, he was like, "Oh, maybe I should pick up Mistborn again." I was like, "Oh yeah, but you need to reread the prologue, but it's not that much." And he's like, "Yeah, you're right. I don't remember that much from the prologue." I was like, "So what do you remember?" And then he goes and he's like, "Well, I remember this, and then he just like literally said the whole prologue. I was like, "Yeah, okay, you're fine. You remember everything." He has such a good memory with books. It's incredible. I wish I had that.
I once got Lee to read the scene in Well Over Ascension where Vin headbutts the person and their head explodes. As you do. I got Lee to read that. I was like, this scene is so cool. So I was like, I know you don't like reading, but just read this one scene. And he was like, meh. I was like, you are cold and dead inside. How can you not think that's awesome?
I tried to get Yakub to read last weekend. I was like, we could have a reading date. Like, I can read my book on the sofa and you can read this book. And he was like, does this book keep having all these magical creatures in it? Like, do we keep? Are there these wolves and these vampires? Do we keep having all these creatures? And I was like, yes, it's a fantasy book.
What book was it?
It was Crescent City. I wanted to give him Akatar, but I don't have it here. It's at my parents. So
you made him read Crescent City?
Well, no,
I mean, like, were you expecting this to be successful?
he read 2 chapters of it, and then he fell asleep.
I mean, good job for getting him to actually try it, because I wouldn't even get that far with Lee. Like,
and then the book sat on the side.
Mistborn series.
The book sat on the side for like the whole week, so I've just put it back on the bookcase now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did get Melvin to do a reading date this week with me, and I thought he was going to pick up Mistborn after that discussion we had, and I was so excited, and I was like, "So where are you at?" And he's like, "I'm 15% through." I was like, "Wait, how? You just sat down?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, but I wasn't going to reread the scene where they with the prologue where this and this happens." I was like, "That's not what happens in Mistborn. That sounds like what happens in Red Rising." He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm rereading Red Rising," and I was like, "Okay."
Oh.
I know you love that series. That's fine. He loves it so much, so it's fine. So should we get back to the Hero of Ages, though?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Maybe a good idea.
Little
So,
tangent.
Sazed someone else? Or are we good with Sazed? Good with Sazed. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
Is there something else you guys want to talk about in this spoiler section? I'm trying to think what happened and what I want to talk about.
Yeah, I need to get back into it. My brain is like off right now.
Did I come in, talk about Ellen?
I think we've gone through all the major characters, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
Mm-hmm. Have any of you read Era 2?
No.
I read The Alloy of Law, and then it's Shadow Self, isn't it? And I have 100 pages left in Shadow Self, and I never finished it, and that was from like 2 years ago.
Okay. Can you remember anything about Alloy of Law?
Not really.
Okay. Just because I'm interested, because obviously I have read them, I'm interested what you think Era 2 is going to be like as a result of Era 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to
so you want some like predictions?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure like the technology, now that the Lord Ruler isn't suppressing it, they advance in technology. And I don't know if this is so much a prediction as like I've seen the cover and there's stuff on it. But
I mean, it's described as flintlock fantasy, so
right. So I mean,
yeah.
But that I'm assuming that because the Lord Ruler is no longer suppressing that, the technology is advancing, and I would assume that the religion is probably going to be, maybe you have like the terrace one still going on some, but I think we're also going to have a religion centered around like maybe Kelsier and Vin and Ellen and stuff. Like I think they're all going to be more like religious figures at this point.
Yeah.
It just seems like it would be the way this world works. They tend to build religions around these people. So I'm thinking that we're going to have a religion that views Vin, Ellen, Kelsier, and all these people we know as these like religious godlike figures or saints or whatever they call them. So yeah, I'm thinking that's going to be something we get, which I think it'd be kind of cool. You know, it's because we know them as just people, but then we'll see how they like deify them going forward.
Which we kind of saw in this with Kelsier, with the Church of the Survivor. We kind of got a glimpse of that. So it would be really cool to see with Vin and Ellen, and yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, so I think that would be cool, and I could definitely see Brandon Sanderson doing that. That seems like a type of thing he would do. I love Sophia laughing up there. Like, Brandon Sanderson,
You know,
yes.
I would be scared. I would be scared that it would just be like, because I've heard so many people say that Era 2 is just like fun and not at all on the same level as Era 1, which that's fine. But my biggest fear going into Era 2 would be that it doesn't advance the lore or the history of the world at all. That it's just like, you know, like a mystery of the week.
You don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that. You're fine.
Okay.
I mean,
This is still a Sanderson series.
Yeah.
Struggling a little bit to remember, but there's definitely advancements in the magic and allomancy and that they can't, all the things advance.
100%.
I definitely remember like it being interesting because they have guns, don't they? And how that works into it.
Yeah.
Well, that would be interesting for people who can push and pull on metals. Like, what type of bullets are you using if they can, like, affect them if they are metal bullets? But are you going to make, like, wooden bullets for Mistborns? I don't know. I mean...
Or if you have a, what are they called? An automatic rifle where you can go like that and then you can push the bullets out. Like, into an...
Right.
Yeah. That would be cool.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm interested.
Well, yeah. Also, I am hoping that there's going to still be some of the Feruchemi, because at the end of this one, we're kind of left not knowing whether there are any Feruchemists left or not. But I really hope there are, because I think that's a really fascinating magic system, and I don't really want it to be gone. I really would like there to still be some, but also if there are, there's always that potential that you get another person who's all powerful like the Lord Ruler. So you're like, I don't know, can he continue it or not? I don't know.
Yeah, that's I have no idea what could happen in those books, you know, because here it was all about the world that was out of place, literally, and all these things, all these powerful gods. And I just wonder what is Era 2 going to be about, you know, like.
I'd say it's definitely different in tone. It's not, you know, the Era 1 is very much kind of apocalyptic, almost world-ending type event that's being led up to, and the characters need to kind of fix that. But that Caesar did already fix that. So, you know, this is much lighter in tone because we're not dealing with something quite as grave as that. But yeah, there's definitely still lots of magic to explore, lots of lore to kind of work through.
I feel like Alloy of Law was lighter than Shadow of Self.
Yeah, for sure. I think they progressively get more serious and, in my opinion, better. Like, out of the 3 that are out so far, Alloy of Law is my least favorite, and then it's Shadows of Self, and then it's Bands of Morning. So yeah,
I feel like I read the word Shadows of Self or Shadow of Self somewhere else in another Cosmere book. Was it in the Mistborn? I don't know. Or was it in White Sand?
Are you thinking of Shadows for Silence in the Forest?
No. It was literally Shadow. At some point, they say Shadow of Self or something like that, and I just don't remember what book it was. Was it in?
I don't remember it being in White Sands.
Maybe it was in these Mistborn books. I don't know. Maybe I dreamt it. That could also be. I don't know.
Is it when they like burned the metal that shows them themselves?
Oh,
yeah,
maybe.
Maybe. Is it there?
I think that's what it is.
Shadow of my future self, or
Yeah, something like that. Which is what I was thinking. Ooh. You know?
But yeah, I'm definitely. Although I definitely need to finish Era 2, but I don't feel as though I have the same love of it as the rest of Sanderson's books. But I feel like I'm excited to see what he does in future eras of Mistborn. More so than reading the rest of Era 2. Like, I feel as though I'm going to be reading Era 2 because I'm going to want to have
Era 3.
Era 3 is meant to be in like our present, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
And then 4 is like
space.
Right. Ooh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm much more excited for those than Era 2, but I assume you're gonna have to read Era 2 to get to Era 3.
Yeah. I think within the in-universe Cosmere timeline, I think that Era 4 is going to be like the furthest forward in the future out of everything. Whereas right now, I think we're still behind Roshar in terms of time.
Yes, that would make sense. Yeah. With Era 1, you mean, or with Era 2?
I think both. I think Era 2 is coming up on Way of Kings in terms of time. But
you wouldn't think
not
because of the advancements, so
yeah, the advancements are further, but
okay.
I don't know.
That's interesting.
It's a different system. So
did anyone watch Sanderson's Cosmere spoiler chat? I didn't, because I haven't read everything Cosmere and I didn't want spoilers, but did he talk anything about that?
No, he didn't. Not about timelines, because he was just answering questions. To be honest, most of the questions were about Rhythm of War, which is kind of natural since that's his most recent release. But
Brittany watched it looks like.
Yeah.
I want to, but I want to catch up on everything because I don't want spoilers, but I also feel like I'm not going to catch up on everything for like a year. So.
I think if you read Rhythm of War,
yeah, I'm only like halfway through it.
After finishing Rhythm of War, you're basically fine. Sorry, Abby, you're way off that. Yeah.
I just feel like I have to restart it because I read half of it in November and I had like binged Stormlight leading up to that, and I was like, I'm just getting an overload a little bit. And so I stopped, and now I feel like I have to reread in order to remember everything because so much is in Rhythm of War. It's a lot, and I feel like I'm going to miss things if I don't reread it. But it's like rereading a 500-page book, like it's this isn't a little reread to read the first half again.
I mean, to be honest, I read Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, Oathbringer in readiness for Rhythm of War, and I finished them just before it. Read Rhythm of War, and I was ready to go back and start again immediately. I was like, again. And I mean, like, back to the Way of Kings and read like all 4 of them again.
Whereas with me trying to pace them all out so I don't have to reread before book 5.
Ooh, that's going to be hard because
you're going to want
a little way off.
I think you'll want to be honest, though, because I mean, it's the same as with Mistborn. Is when you reread it, you start noticing things. I mean, I guarantee when book 5 comes out, I will do what I wanted to do after Rhythm of War. I will just be like, okay, and again.
Yeah, I would like to reread and watch like Brandon Sanderson's spoiler videos talking about all the things. Like, I want to have all the connections fresh in my mind and then jump into the 5th one because it's going to wrap up that section at least. Like, it's not going to obviously wrap up all of Stormlight, but yeah.
I think you should watch, if you're interested in that, what's that channel name? I think it's Lost in Discovery. I don't know if you know him, but he is doing trying to find out how Stormlight, the first arc, is going to end. And he's doing some really cool videos where he analyzes the death rattles from the Way of Kings. And then goes through, and some stuff that he's pointed out is really, really cool. So if you finish Rhythm of War, you should go back and then watch those.
I think the death words at the end is so fascinating, and when you listen to some of them, Abby, You gotta catch up.
So on that, he did actually talk. This is not going to spoil you for anything after Way of Kings, Abby. Don't worry. He did say in this spoiler live stream, because he was asked specifically about the death rattles and whether or not he was going to use those and whether they would tie into the end, and he said some of them yes, but not necessarily all of them. So
of course not, because then you won't know which ones.
But if you read the death rattles, it does say sometimes this sample is of notable importance, or this sample is not important at all. So
because some of them, because I went back and you can see which ones, which predictions have already happened.
Yeah,
because some of them are for things already happening in Way of Kings.
Yeah.
Okay, that comment by Brittany about a Stormlight 1.5, is this saying there's going to be another book after Stormlight 5, or is he going to put a book between 1 and 2, between
the latter, because he's done both Edge Dancer and Dawn Shard. He's a completionist, so he wants to. He probably not going to be for a while, but he wants to go back and do one for between Way of Kings and Words of Radiance.
Yeah, I always wondered why he didn't do that, because he has the other ones in between.
Yeah,
and so I was like, how come he didn't throw one after Way of Kings? But
there's going to be one between 4 and 5 as well.
Oh, of course, because it's Brandon Sanderson, and he has that almost like type A, almost OCD personality, right, where he has to have them pretty like that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he's definitely going to finish the palindrome with the titles.
Oh yeah,
like 100%. He has to. Yeah, I mean, that would be such a waste not to at this point.
Yeah. But what I think is funny is just like, he's like, oh, by the way, I'm just writing a few more novellas, but you know that his novellas are not like 50 pages. It's like, for some authors, what he writes as a novella is like a full-length novel. So.
Yeah. And the way that he's just like, I think I'm going to write a novella. And then a week later, I wrote a novella.
Right?
Dude. Seriously.
You're a boss.
He writes novellas quicker than I read.
Literally.
Yeah, it's like he just sits down, he's like, done.
But he literally, it's funny though, but he does write them while his beta readers are reading the Stormlight book. He's like, I'm just going to knock out a quick novella while they do that, and then by the time it comes back to me, that'll be done.
Yes, he is. Which
I want to be a Sanderson beta reader. That's like the dream.
Yeah.
When I visit you, you're gonna show me where he lives, and I'm just gonna sit there.
I know, we'll just sit outside his house for a while and soak in the Sanderson magic.
I know, it's like, this is where the magic happens.
I know.
And then we run away if he calls a cop on.
And it's just like this normal looking house. You're like, what?
Yeah, I don't think so too. I think he must be just always writing. Which he did that. He wrote 2 novellas for In Between for Skyward. Before, just out of the blue. He wrote 2 novellas for that.
Yeah,
we've got Skyward novellas.
Yeah, there's 2 of them that he wrote. Wait.
They're only on his website.
Yeah, it's Sunreach and Redawn. And he already finished one of them. Sunreach, his final draft is done. And then Redawn, draft 1.0 is done.
And that's coming before
Cytonic.
I assume so.
I would think yes, but I don't know.
Sophia, were you looking? I saw that Waterstones announced that they had signed editions of Cytonic.
Yeah, their book plate signed those. Like, darn it. I'll probably still pre-order it. In fact, I'm going to pre-order it, but I have to spend another like £5 to get the free delivery, and I can't make myself pay £3 for delivery when I could just buy another book and get delivery for free.
That's fair.
So
that makes sense.
I feel like there's stores here all the time where Brandon Sanderson will just go and sign books. And so I can just wait until I see that he went and did it. And then
just follow him around. I mean, to be honest, just go up and knock on his door and be like, would you sign this? Thanks.
It's me, but
just go to church on Sunday, you know?
Sign your book,
Oh, man. I didn't think he was a big deal in Paris. And so when I was there in 2019, when you were there, Abby, he had just posted on his Instagram that he was in Paris and he signed a bunch of his books at the Shakespeare & Co. thing.
I didn't know.
Like, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be there in like in like 10 days, so maybe they'll still have some. Because I was like, okay, if this were like London or America, of course it would be gone. But Paris, who reads Brandon Sanderson, and who reads it in English specifically? In France, people don't read in English. And I went all happy to Shakespeare and I was like, Brandon Sanderson was here like 10 days ago. Do you still have some of his books? And they're like, those sold out in like 2 hours. And it's like, oh, even in Paris, okay. I was so sad.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he goes and he signs books all the time. He'll be like, hey, I noticed they were out of signed books, so I spent an hour signing all the books. You're like, you are a good human.
And in the meantime, his other 2 hands were writing a novella.
Did you see the this wasn't Sanderson, this was Neil Schusterman recently was in a bookstore signing books, and he came across a couple of like fans, and they were like just there to buy the second book because they just finished Scythe, and he was like, would you like the author to sign that? And they were like, yeah. I was like, give it here then, because they didn't know it was him. It was just kids. Like, it's so cute.
Really so cute.
I love it that authors do that, but I always wonder, like, do they check with the staff first, or they just go in and start signing them? Yeah,
otherwise you check. You can't start writing in books.
Because otherwise, I can imagine the staff being like, "There's some weirdo writing in all our books."
Like, do you have to prove that you're said author? You know, like if you're not Brandon Sanderson, but if you're like a small author, and then you're like, "Hey, I'm here. I see you have some of my books. Can I sign them?" Like, you know?
Yeah, can I just do that? Just like grab some book and be like, hey, I'm the author.
Well, I mean, authors have been and signed other authors' books before. That was a whole thing on Twitter.
That was a big
thing. That was a big thing.
Yeah, that was.
So, I mean, it's, you know, probably take some ID. Like, look, I'm really this person.
Yeah, if you're not like
what if
Stephen King or Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, okay. But if there's an author like who comes out with a best-selling novel and it's called Abby Salter, and Abby just goes in and she's like, "Oh, I'm Abby Salter. I'm just going to start signing."
True. I mean, you would hope that people wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no desire to go around signing other people's books.
Yeah. Maybe one day our own. Who knows?
But I'm not a writer.
No.
Yeah.
I'm a reader.
I like reading.
Like that, Brittany. It's like
I hope
bookseller phasing.
I hope they do a release party for Cytonic, because I went to the big release party that he had for Starsight. I went to that release party that he had here because he has a lot of them in Utah because that's where he lives, obviously. But he didn't have one for Rhythm of War because obviously he could not.
He said that he's probably having an online one. But yeah, he is definitely having one for Cytonic. They're already planning it, I think.
I don't want it to be online. I want it to be in person. It's so much fun to go to those. It's like everyone is nerding out. I mean, there were people wearing mist cloaks, even though it wasn't even Mistborn, and they had their big like special edition leather bounds and stuff, and it was so much fun.
God, that must be so cool. I remember before I read his stuff, I used to go to secondhand bookstores in Idaho, and I went in and I was like, oh yeah, I'm just starting to read fantasy. This guy wanted me to read the shop seller. He wanted me to read Brandon Sanderson. I was like, no, that's way too advanced. He's like, but you need to read it because Mistborn is so epic and stuff. And he was really like trying to sell it. And I was like, but you know, like the definition of a nerdy person when you look at them. And I was like, no, that's a bit too nerdy for me. And now I'm like, look at me. You know,
now
like,
you're making
Pastor Anna was so wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, not only have you read it, you've read it multiple times, and you're having a live show on the internet talking about it.
Yep.
It doesn't get more nerdy.
Does not.
No.
I mean, it could get slightly. I mean, if we'd all kind of cosplayed for this live show, that would take it to the next level. But
oh gosh,
I'm not suggesting it. That's
I
too
feel
much
like
effort.
I could cosplay if I were like going to one of the live release parties or something like that, or if they made it into a movie, going to.
Well, you were going to say I could cosplay as, and then you were going to say a person. And I was like, who are you going to cosplay as?
Well, then of course.
You have to chop off your hair or wear a wig.
Oh no, I'm just wearing the Mistborn cloak.
Okay. Yeah. No, that would be so cool. Well, should we? Do we still have any more Hero of Ages thoughts, or
That went out the window.
We
a while
are
ago.
all over the place in this talk.
So we aren't doing a live show for 11th Metal, which is our June book pick, because it's just a short story. But we will be back in July with at the end of July, beginning of August, for a Alloy of Law live show. And I don't know if it's going to be on my channel or someone else's channel. We will let you know if you want to join us for that.
Yeah.
But if you guys don't have any more thoughts on Hero of Ages, we can end the live show here, because we're at an hour. So yeah, thank you girls so much for coming on the channel talking about the Hero of Ages, which I loved and we all loved, so that's a good thing. And thank you so much for the people in the comments who have commented and who watched. And we will see you next time for Alloy of Law. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.